All right, hello everybody. Today, I've got something maybe useful to you today. Instead of kind of yammering on about this or that or whatever, I'm going to actually go through a tutorial of creating a paperback on Amazon Kindle Direct or Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, right? So, um, you know, um, it's very, very easy to produce an ebook over on Amazon, and it's very, very easy to produce an ebook on, say, Drafted Digital or Barnes and Noble or whatever. Your position of choice. But one of the things that's actually really easy and really accessible is creating paperbacks and even hardcover books over on Amazon. It's one of those things where it, it, it's it used to be really hard to do this. It used to be something that required you to get in touch with a printer and such and such and such, and lots of weirdness. But like Amazon has done a pretty decent job of like streamlining all of the necessary steps of like showing you what your book is going to look like when it's on paper. They've kind of got all those measurements down, right? Like because you could go to a printer and you could say I want this and this and this, and if you forget about talking about like a margin or a bleed or something like that, you could end up with something. Goodness knows what you could end up with. But Amazon's done a pretty good job of translating what you hand them a PDF and they say this is what it's going to look like if we put it on paper as you gave it to us, and you say, well, okay, I guess, right? They have error catching and stuff for you as well. It's kind of nice, and so. We're going to cut away, and what we're going to see is we're going to see me turning the Hyacinth Rescue from an ebook into, or from the manuscript that I would have used for an ebook, right? Generally speaking, if you're going to put something up on Amazon, the most streamlined approach that I know of is you create kind of your document file, your ODT, your DocX, your whatever, right? Something from Microsoft Word or LibreOffice or OpenOffice or your word processor of choice. Then you take that and you put it into Kindle Create, which is a program that Amazon offers that gives you an offline way to like look at what your thing would look like as an ebook and make appropriate adjustments. Well, the stuff for paperback is online, right? Like we're gonna have to go visit some websites, but they do a pretty good job of showing you what your book, what the PDF that you sent them will look like if they make it into a book. And then that kind of allows you to fine tune things so you can make a paperback. Anyway, we're going to cut away and we're going to go through the steps to go from here's the document file that I used to make my ebook to here is all the stuff that I need for a paperback. So here we go. All right, let's get started. So what I have here and what you should see on the screen is a copy of my manuscript for my novella that I'm going to be making a new paperback today for you guys, or to show you guys how it works. And this is exactly the file that I basically, well, not quite, right? Like this is the file that I put into Kindle Create in order to send the Kindle Create file to Amazon. But a file like this, just kind of like I'm using LibreOffice and this kind of file, which this version is an ODT, a .odt, but LibreOffice allows you to convert to a DocX. Which is what I usually do before I send it to, say, Drafted Digital. Anyway, here is my manuscript. This is ready to be imported into Kindle Create, and then Kindle Create basically just turns it into the right file format for Amazon. I don't need to make that many changes to the Kindle Create thing, so this is basically done. Now, here's what we need to do in order to get this thing into the right shape for a paperback. Well, step one is that we need to set the page size to be equal to the page size that you want for Amazon. Well, let's cut over to the web browser for a second, and I'll explain how that works. All right, here is this. So I'm going to put the hyperlink up on the screen, and I'm also going to put it in the description. But this is the Kindle Direct Publishing book print cover calculator for templates. So how do we use this? It's pretty simple. You just kind of fill in these little things, and it's not really too complicated. We're going to go for a paperback. We're going to do black and white interior. For the purpose, for the initial use of this, we're not going to be so worried about anything. We're just going to pick kind of the most obvious things. But this is what we really want to get to, is the interior trim size. Because we're going to want to select one of these for our manuscript. And so you can see we have everything from 5 by 8 to, 8 by 10, 8.5 by 11. Like, I could make it 8.5 by 11 book if I wanted to. 8.5 by 8.5. You can even do custom trim sizes, but probably, one of the standards is what you want to go for, just to avoid being too out there. So this is a short book. It's a novella. So we're going to go with the smallest non-custom trim size that we have, which would be 5 by 8. Okay, so now we know that we have a 5 by 8 goal for us to aim for, and that's what we're going to do with our document. So let's head back over to LibreOffice. Okay, here we are back at LibreOffice. So we're going to head over to Format. We're going to go Page Style. And you can fiddle around with formats and making your own stuff, but really the simplest way to do this is just to type in 5 by 8 here, and that gives us the right page size. But we're also going to need to change a few other things. For instance, an 8.5 by 11, 0.79 inch margins, or kind of, between 3/4 and half an inch margins are kind of normal. For this one, we're going to want smaller margins because we have smaller paper. Now, you're limited to how small you can make those margins with Amazon. We'll find that out. But what I've found works reasonably well for the 5 by 8 is you can use 0.4 inches for left and right and 0.5 inches for top and bottom. We're not going to worry about gutter. We're not going to mess around with any of that stuff. And we're going to let that kind of be its thing. We're going to hit Apply here and OK. And we're going to see that now we have like 56 pages instead of 30. Now, of course, if we're working to make a paperback, we're going to want to get rid of all hyperlinks. So we're going to want to go through and we're going to remove all hyperlinks. For me, there's just a couple of them at the beginning, at the end. And, obviously it doesn't make sense to have like, I have a fiction blog without putting something there. So we're going to get rid of some of the places where there's information that a person would not necessarily be able to use out of the paperback. But there we go. We've got our manuscript now. It's now the right size. It now has smaller margins. So the question is, what do we do next? Well, next thing we want to do is we probably want to have pagination. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over here and we're going to go to Insert, and page number should be an option. Now you can fiddle around with this a bit, but what we're going to just do is we're just going to do bottom of the page centered, and 1, 2, 3, etc. Hit OK, and now all of our pages have numbers on them. Now, unfortunately, we don't want numbers on our title pages, so that's kind of a pain in the butt. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go back into Format, and we're going to go to Title Page, and we've got 4 title pages, so there we go. We're going to reset page numbering after title pages, and we're going to hit OK. And now, these pages should be unnumbered. Yeah. There's page 1 right there. And that looks perfect. For some reason, when it does this, it screws up the pagination wherever you do, like, I don't know. I had this problem, and I'm not sure why exactly it did this, but there it is. Fortunately, the pagination doesn't, kind of adapts to our fixes of the foreword here, right? So now we've got this. Now we're going to notice that I think it's screwed with our margins a bit again. So we're going to go back. I don't know why it does this. But I guess technically we should have done this last. But that's fine. We're going to go back to the desired margins. Preface. Preface does end properly. Now this book is short. It doesn't have chapters or anything. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually backspace here on the first sentence. And we're just going to select this paragraph. And what we're going to do is, where is it? I believe it's in paragraph. You can go into drop caps. You can display a drop cap, just one character. Hit OK. Now we've got a drop cap for our first thing to signify the start of the story. And there we go. We've got title page, preface, no page numbers, main book, signified by the drop cap, page numbers, and the page numbers go all the way to the end. It says 56, but there's actually 60 pages here. So there we go. We now have our document that is going to be something that we can use with Amazon's KDP publishing format, or software, or platform, whatever you want to call it. Now, LibreOffice has a handy button to just export as a PDF, We can export it as a PDF. I've already done all that work, so I just wanted to kind of show how it's done. But once you have a PDF here, that's kind of where you want to start. We also want to make note of this page number as well, because we're going to need that too. So that is kind of the first set of steps. Just to kind of summarize, figure out what page size you want, change the page size in your word processor appropriately, add pagination, remove pagination from the title pages, make sure that your margins are correct, and then turn it into a PDF. And that will be our first few steps towards making a paperback. So let's head back over to the web interface and we'll see what we've got there. All right, we're back at the print cover calculator. And now all we need to do is type in our page number over here. Then we calculate dimensions, and it gives us a nice little thing that we can use to figure out what size of a thing we want to put onto our cover PDF. You can even download a template, which includes like a PDF version of this thing as well as a PNG version of this thing that you can use to kind of set things up. Now we're going to look at a couple of things here. Like for number one, the full cover, dimension number 1, goes from top to bottom, is 10.4 inches wide and 8.25 inches high. The front cover is 5 by 8 exactly. The safe area is 4.875 by 7.75. They cut off, an eighth of an inch from the width and a quarter inch from the height of area where you probably shouldn't have any text and where you probably shouldn't have any important parts of your picture. You have some bleed, which is an eighth of an inch and an eighth of an inch in both sides and both things. That's additional space that you're going to want to have something, not just white or not just black, but something that kind of meshes with the rest of your cover. But that's probably going to get cut off. We have a margin of another eighth of an inch, and you can see number 4 and number 5 like that. You've got your spine. Now, the spine is only going to be 0.15 inches in width because this is a very short book. If you have a longer book, you can actually add text to the spine in larger books. In a book this small, we're not even going to bother with spine text. It's just going to be, a blank color or part of the random image from the back or something like that. We get spine safe area is even smaller. It's like, what is that? A 40th of an inch? That's not particularly helpful. Then we've got spine margins. Those are 6.2. 0.62 would be, a 16th of an inch? Something like that. We've got a barcode margin, which means that there's going to be this barcode and you should have a quarter inch of non-important stuff around the barcode just to make sure that it is placed where it's supposed to be placed. Because, again, Amazon doesn't quite guarantee that these things are going to be exactly as you want, but if you stay within these safe areas and safe margins, things should come out all right. So now we've got these dimensions, and so the question is, what do you do next? Well, you can do covers in a couple of different ways, and let's go over there and take a look at that real quick. Okay, we are now on the second tab of the paperback creation thing. The first tab is going to be mostly information that only you were going to have. It's going to be picking tags and stuff like that. We're not going to worry too much about that. We're going to assume that you're going to be all right with that. We're going to make sure that we make everything the same as our cover calculator. So we did black and white interior with cream paper. We're going to do a 5 by 8. There we go. You notice that these are in the most popular trim sizes. There's some more and then there's some non-standard, but going with the popular stuff is good. It makes your book feel like it's going to work like it's a regular book and not some kind of weird goofy thing. And then you can choose matte or glossy paperback cover. We're going to choose glossy. Now to upload the manuscript, we're going to upload that PDF. There we go. Second edition Amazon paperback. So I've got my manuscript uploaded. It's just that PDF that we made in the earlier step. And then we're going to look at this. Now, we have two choices here. We have a cover creator and we have a print-ready PDF. If you have a print-ready PDF, that's great. You just click here and you just upload it. Very nice. A cover can have a barcode or not. Amazon will throw the one on there if you don't have one. Now, I did get a print-ready PDF cover for mine, but what we're going to do is we're going to launch the cover creator. Because we want to see how this works a little bit, right? So this is kind of their little tutorial. Tutorials these days suck. Choose design, style, and edit preview. That is not helpful for anything. But what we're going to do is we're going to get images from my computer, and we're going to pick my cover here. We're uploading the image. So what we want is a design like, for what I just put in, which is a, what would you call it? Like a front cover only. We're going to choose this basic design. There's a quick tutorial here. Here's the spine, here's the margin, here's the cover edge, here's the tools. Now this is not super detailed, but as you can see, my cover image is here. I can kind of move it around a bit to get it to kind of fit properly. And I can even resize it a little bit too. The goal will be to make sure that it fills the gray area, or to make sure it fills the red area and doesn't really go over the gray area. It can take a little finagling. And then you want it to kind of be centered on the front as well. Notice that if I move it over, part of it gets ghosted out if it goes over the red dotted line for the spine. So we're going to ghost just a tiny bit, like 1 pixel of it, basically. Then here you could put whatever text you want. This is going to be like your author stuff. Other stuff. Now for a book this short, we're not going to have this. We're just not going to actually have the ability to have those. So we're just going to delete them so that they're not in the way. There we go. You can choose colors, choose layout, choose fonts, but what you can't do is like add like multiple images. This is not a photo editing suite. It's going to assume that you kind of have what you want to a certain degree. I'm noticing that the H in Hyacinth is over the red, so we're going to... But as you can see, you get to kind of fiddle around with this and make it look the way you want it to. This current cover, I think, is actually not quite the right size. Because it wants to bleed over the... Right? Anyway, the point is that this is how the Amazon cover creator works. You can also choose colors. You can select your different primary colors, your secondary colors, and then you can change the color of text. So these are all options that you have, right? If we start over, we note that we can like expand the picture over the full freaking size of the cover. We can have like additional bits and bobs added to the cover over the image. So you can kind of work with just regular old art if you want to, and then put text over it with the appropriate, font and stuff like that. We have a bunch of different types of fonts, that kind of stuff. Now, in this case, we are going to back out of this, because what we actually do have is I actually do have a PDF for this. So we're going to close this out, and that's going to put us back here. And we're going to upload my print-ready PDF, which I'll have to find. And the question is, how well is this going to work? Because I haven't tried it yet. This is actually my first attempt, because going back and redoing all of it over again would be kind of annoying. This can be kind of slow for whatever reason. We need an ISBN, so we'll assign an ISBN. Amazon does that for free if you want. You can buy ISBNs if you want, but there you go. So now we're processing the files. Yeah, here's the disclaimer about spine text. To include spine text, your book must have at least 79 pages. So, in general, you know, if you're doing something short, you're going to want to not bother with the spine text. But if you're doing something, you know, long, then you can absolutely get spine text. So I'll just kind of cut here, and we'll see what we end up with after the files are processed. All right, it has accepted my cover, it has accepted my manuscript, and now we have to launch the previewer. Launching the previewer is way, way, way important here, because when you're doing stuff with Kindle Create for ebooks, Kindle Create gives you a good preview, and Kindle Create is made by Amazon, and so when Amazon produces the version based off of the file that you give them from Kindle Create, it should look exactly the same, and so you don't really need to bother with this that much on ebooks unless you're handing in like a docx or something. But it is really nice to have a standalone program on your computer to make your ebook look right. But again, paperback. For this, we're going to want to definitely launch the previewer. Here is our previewer. And now we get to see what things actually look like. So here's my cover. We see that it is that the text is centered properly within the redness. We see that there's nothing on the spine. We see that Amazon has added its little barcode for us. I've got my text on the back that my cover creator helped me out with. So there's that. And then we get to look here and we get to say, is this where it should be? Is this centered? Does this look the way that it ought to look? And, you know, you get to see how it would look if you opened up the pages of a book, right? We have the inside cover here, and then we have the first page here, page 2, page 3. That's the preface. There's my drop cap. And that does it kind of, sort of, right? We're going to just kind of flip through this real quick. So that is what the inside of the book is going to look like. And then there will usually be a couple of extra blank pages after this before the back cover. But yeah, this, you know, the text is all inside the thing. We have ragged edges here on this side. We have a little bit of indent on that side as well. It's not too crazy. Nothing is kind of off the edge. It looks like this side has a little bit less... like a little bit of cutoff, but people aren't generally going to notice that as long as it's consistent, right? So there's that. So there's our cover. The cover looks good. There's our text. Text looks good. It's all within the... It'll give you an error if text goes outside this gray area, but that's why we chose the margins that we chose, because the gray dotted line is kind of a limiter, and you will get error messages if it goes outside that. That's why I chose the margins that I did, because it worked on my previous book. Now, there's one thing about this that I might want to change, and that is that I might want to have like a blank page between the end of the foreword or preface and the beginning of this, so that it starts on like a page like that. So probably what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll add another page break into my document, and we'll use that. But anyway, if you're going through this process, you've just observed how I go through the whole thing. You know, next up would be the pricing step, which again is going to be personal to you, and you know, there's not really much help from me to show you how to do that. But this is the process for a paperback, which is a little bit more involved than for an ebook. But as you can see, it's not that difficult, and there we go. Also, we can choose bleed if we want. Setting your interior to bleed allows printing at or off the edge of a page. It is used to support images and illustrations. Most books use no bleed unless there is a specific reason to apply bleed. Changing bleed settings will not change manufacturing cost. How to adjust your manuscript for bleed? Well, you can go read that help file if you want. But yeah, we're basically here. Aside from the tiny change I'm going to make to my manuscript, this would be a ready-to-go paperback, pretty much. And so, if you are writing something, you can see here that this is not an involved multi-hour process, right? Once you have the manuscript, getting it from an ebook format, that's like an ODT or a document or a Microsoft Word document to a PDF that you can turn into a paperback is actually pretty easy. So, yeah, I hope this was helpful. Note that cream paper and white paper are your two different choices. If you choose cream paper, you're limited to black and white interior. If you choose white paper, you can have color interiors. All these things change in effect, like how much the book costs to print. Amazon is going to charge you first for the printing costs, and then you'll get royalties on what's left over, basically. And I think cream paper and white paper might have slightly different thicknesses because you can see that they're the same weight, so maybe they don't have different thicknesses. But for some reason, the cream paper is on the cover calculator, and so there must be something that the paper. Let's change it. Let's just change it. White paper. Calculate dimensions. 10385. Look at that. If we go from white to cream, that 10385 changes to 104. What else changes? Yeah, the spine width gets a little bit smaller. The safe area gets a little bit smaller. The margins get a little bit bigger with the white paper. So anyway, that's why it is important which paper choice that you make early on. But anyway, that's the process. So yeah, that's all I've got for today. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope this is helpful for you. This process is really easy. This is like this is the kind of thing that is a huge technological advance. It used to be really hard to put together a book and get it printed, and Amazon makes it surprisingly easy. You can always play with the harder methods, but this is a good tutorial to kind of dip your foot in and see how things go. So, from a writing perspective, I think this is handy and a good tutorial. But anyway, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy what I'm doing on this channel, you know what to do. And I hope you have a good weekend. See you later.